All right, everybody. We are here for episode 89 of Now Showing with Mike and Wayne. That's 89 episodes we've been doing this. We got to talk to our good buddy Andy Rohr last week about the Oscars, which will now have already passed at this point in time next week when this episode happens. So I'll lay down some predictions at the end of this episode. This will also be a bit of a shorter episode. Go ahead, Wayne.
I am outraged at the outcome that hasn't quite happened yet. But after hearing us right now, it has happened. So mind blown.
Just imagine Wayne angry already. So this week the way we run our podcast, we do it through our website. We have a certain amount of hours we can do a month. This is one of those rare months where we actually post 5 episodes within the 30 days. So we are low on time this week. So we're not gonna have really a main topic. We're just gonna review the 2 movies that we watched, talk about some other movies that we watched, and like I said, we'll do a bit of Oscar predictions at the end of the episode. But yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. Just give everybody a heads up. Our first film is the family remake again, because I guess it's an original film from a long time ago based on a novel. It's Disney Plus original Cheaper by the Dozen, starring Gabrielle Union and Zach Braff. It's the same type of setup. Go ahead.
Ugh. That's what encapsulates this for me. It's a remake that did not need to happen.
Yes.
Cheaper by the Dozen, I believe, was made in 2003. Some immediate knocks. No Steve Martin, no Tom Welling, no Bonnie Hunt. I really like Zach Braff. I really like Gabrielle Union, but no, just this particular setup and format, it did not work for me. While I loved what they tried to do with the blending of families, just too much forced comedy with the kids that just was not funny or cute at all. Just felt exhausting in each scene for me. And anyway, carry on, sir.
I don't necessarily disagree, but so the plot is they own. We get the intros from both the parents in the beginning about all the kids and stuff. They own a restaurant called Baker's Breakfast. I don't know why Baker's Dozen wasn't the name of the restaurant, but anyway, regardless, Baker's Breakfast. They go into why he loves breakfast and how it came that way, and they're living with the kids, plus also the ex-wife played by Erica Christensen basically lives with them. So they have all the kids, two kids each from each marriage prior to this one, and then they have 2 sets of twins that are theirs together.
When they were doing all that, I was doing the math. Like, all right, hang on, carry the 2, divide by the reciprocal. All right, it pans out.
It pans out, yes. And so they end up. He ends his sauce or whatever, Paul's sauce, and it's sweet or savory or hot on whatever you put it on. I don't know. They said it like 9,000 times in the movie. I really didn't care. And that's the premise, is that he's trying to sell this sauce so they can have a house to afford, to have all the kids like kind of have their own rooms, except for the twins, of course. But he has to go away so long. So then it's, there's the stress in the marriage and the family with him being out of the house so much. And that's the premise. That's the plot. And so it's very typical to the other Cheaper by the Dozen movies. The only difference is, and I'm not a huge fan of those movies either, but I did find those movies humorous. And this movie, while it has some emotional moments that I like, it has, like Wayne talked about, the very diverse family. I thought that was a really good thing to put in this movie. And it hits a lot of those notes. It talks about racism. It talks about classism. But it's not funny. And it's a kid's movie. So it's not nearly as bad as the Home Alone sequel remake, but it's definitely not good when you make a comedy that doesn't have many laughs in it. And I think that if it was funny, I could have overlooked a lot of the stupid stuff that was in this movie. I will say, though, Wayne, I do believe that the the girl twin of the older twins should be in stuff, because I thought she was actually really funny. Out
Yes.
of all the kids, the rest of the kids I really didn't care about. Um, I thought they were going to do more with the girl in the wheelchair. She seemed like a cool character because she was like in a punk rock band, and obviously a disability, but she was not really in the movie all that much. So
Yeah, all about inclusion, but it just feels like, how do I say this without sounding like a complete asshole like I normally do? It feels like she was kind of just there to show that there was a handicapped child, a
yes,
physically handicapped child, and oh look, we're including everybody.
yeah.
But I don't know. I understand when there's 12 kids, you can't do something
12
for
kids,
everybody, but
hour
I
and
guess
40
maybe you
minute,
could.
yeah, hour and 40-minute movie, so not a lot of time to give a lot of screen time to the kids, because you're also focusing on the parents. I mean, that's, a big thing in these movies, is the parents are the stars. um I'm glad that Gabrielle Union got a chance to do something like this, because I like her. I think she's very talented. I think she deserves probably to be more famous than she is. But again, like we said, and I looked at Kenya Barris's writing recently, Wayne, and he did Blackish, which everybody loved. I have not seen all of Blackish, so I can't say whether I liked it or not. But I heard good things. But he also did a bunch of comedy films that were not very well received. Even though we enjoyed, for the most part, Coming to America, that was kind of split down the middle on whether people liked it or not.
Yep.
And it's funny when I look at his upcoming films, he's got one that he wrote with Jonah Hill, and I was like, oh, well, Jonah Hill helped him write it, so maybe it'll actually be funny this time. And I hate saying that, because I like to see people kind of start in TV and do well for themselves. But you look at I'm telling you, go to his IMDb or Wikipedia and look at his track record, and you're just like, oh, like he wrote a bunch of movies that are not funny. Um, and this one, it just, like I said, and he's not the director, so it's not all on him. But it just was one of those things I was like, oh, so he has this, for movies, he has a better track record for TV shows. He started out good, I guess, with Girl Trip. But then he did, well, see, I don't know, I guess it's up in the air, because he did The Witches, which I know you really liked. So it hit or miss, I guess we'll say, for Kenya Barris, um, when it comes to screenwriting. But it just overall just not a very entertaining film. I mean, when you watch something like this, I'm not looking for this to be on par with Licorice Pizza or the Power of the Dog. I'm looking to just enjoy my hour and 40 minutes, and I did not enjoy it. So I would say uh, four out of 10 at best, maybe probably a 3 out of 10, but 4 out of 10, because like I said, it did, the social issues it brings up and stuff I do appreciate. I like the diverse family and that kind of stuff, and a lot of the other stuff there's some emotional beats that it hits at the end that I liked. But overall, it's just not a very good movie, Wayne. So what's your final thoughts and score on this movie, Wayne?
I was at a 4-2. Like I liked what the premise was, but just when it lacks natural comedy, and it's a comedy, it's a hold on, let me rewind that one. When you make a comedy that's not funny, like you stated earlier, it just feels like a chore to get through, and that's what this felt like, a chore.
Yes, exactly. And no movie that short should feel like a chore, unless maybe it's like an art house movie. Yeah, just I don't know. Didn't really do much for me this week. I'm not. This week I won't say it was a completely rough week, because there are a lot of things I liked about our next movie, but I also did not love this one either. But I did enjoy it, I think, a little more. All right, so you could catch Cheaper by the Dozen, the remake, on Disney Plus. Our next one is Windfall. It's a Netflix original. Great cast. Um, with
A great cast of 4 people.
of four people, yes. Jason Segel, Lily Collins, Jesse Plemons, and then Omar Leva. He shows up later in the film. Directed by Charlie McDowell. Writers Charlie McDowell, Jason Segel with the story, Justin Latter, and I think there was somebody else that did the screenplay. Andrew Kevin Walker with the screenplay. Um, so a lot of behind Siegel isn't involved behind the scenes a lot in this one. He's also a producer, as is Plemons and Collins. A movie this small, you kind of, I think, probably have to have everybody kind of chip in. It looks like it was probably definitely shot during the pandemic because, like Wayne just said, there's literally 4 people in this movie in a big house.
Very much a Malcolm and Marie vibe to it.
Yes, has a Malcolm and Marie vibe, a little more tense of a thriller, I would say, because Malcolm and Marie is more of a romance drama. This is definitely a thriller where you have Jason Segel's character, we never learn his name, is robbing this house owned by a rich couple, like a tech billionaire and his wife, who are not there. And the plan is to leave before they get there, but then they show up in the middle of him leaving. So he then decides to basically hold them hostage and then ask for certain circumstances come into play. And then he ends up asking for like $500,000. And the whole premise of the film is having to kind of wait out the money being dropped off and then him trying to get away scot-free. We're not going to spoil this one because there are some twists and turns in the last like 20 minutes. It really just kind of goes into overdrive. What I liked about this movie, I liked the style of it. It reminded me, Wayne, not while I don't think it was as good of a movie, it reminded me a lot of Beckett, which we reviewed last year with John David Washington, because that one felt like a 50s, 60s French noir thriller, and that's how this one starts. You got the music in the beginning, you got just the text, the simple text on the screen. It felt like an old school film, a movie made in the 50s or 60s. So it had a lot of that noirish type stuff to it, which is, usually is a type of movie I like. I thought the performances were really good. It lags. The reason I say it's not like I don't love it is because it does slag a little bit in the middle. There's a scene where they're like, he's talking to the wife by the fire, and like that, like there's a lot of just kind of nonsense in that scene that doesn't really need to be there, and it kind of grinds the movie to a halt for a little bit. But I like the chase when he's chasing him down through the orange fields in the early on in the film. I thought that was done very humorously.
I'm gonna catch you. I'm right here.
Can we just stop right now? I'm gonna get you.
Just call her back, babe. Babe, you got me. And she's like right there. It's like you went the opposite direction and then doubled. Hey, okay.
There were definitely some times where I chuckled, and it's not necessarily set up as a comedy, but obviously with Jason Segel and Jesse Plemons, you're going to get a little bit of humor, I think, just infused into the film, just because they are naturally funny people. A lot of it worked for me, but like I said, there was some moments where I was like, okay, this thing can move a little bit faster, which is hard to say when you're watching an hour and 30-minute movie. Like, that's not very long. But there were moments where it did slow down and you're just kind of like, okay, let's speed it up here. I did really like the last like 20 minutes or so. It definitely felt more like a Coen Brothers film in the last in the third act. I think they kind of knew what they were doing, and that was what they succeeded in what they wanted to make. So Wayne, what are your thoughts on this film?
As my doppelganger, Meth Damon, as they refer to him now, or now Fat Damon, jerks.
I know that's not nice. Great actor.
I love
Academy Award nominated actor tonight for The Power of the Dog, by the way.
May very well be an Academy Award winner. We shall see. I love Jesse Plemons because you just see where he started with Friday Night Lights and obviously Breaking Bad, and really as the opportunities came in, really excelled. And I can't think of a film that he isn't intriguing or the center, like the scene stealer, I guess you could say. Even when his character is the weak and meek the weaker of the one on screen, it's like, so anything he's in, I know I'm going to enjoy and connect with. And this was very much the same. Nice to see Lily Collins again. Every time I see her, the first scene in a film, I immediately go back to The Blind Side. I don't know why it's that. I guess
forget she's in that one.
Yeah, and her name is Collins. It's like interesting. So I don't know. Maybe that's why, because her name is Lily Collins, and then her first name is her last name, and it's weird things like that make an impression on me.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, just very, very unique, and I like unique.
Mm-hmm.
You think it's going to be one thing, and it starts off, and Segel, is this bumbling thief, kind of not, so you mean it's like, okay, he's not a professional,
Yeah.
or
Oh no, 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 yeah.
without going into it's hard not to. Anyway, it's like, oh, what the hell is going on? Well, all right, let's go. It's for as weird as it is, it gives you enough right off the bat to want to keep watching,
Oh yeah,
and
it's
it's
never not
intriguing.
interesting for sure.
And as we mentioned, the twists, if you will,
Yes, yes.
are some people I've read. Some people are complaining about the payoff and
Yeah.
whatnot, but
I liked yeah,
yeah, it worked for me.
I could have used maybe a little longer. And it was funny because I said the movie was slow in the middle. I could have used
Correct.
maybe a little longer wrap up to kind of solidify. But then as I talked with, because my wife fell asleep, of course, because she was bored. As I talked to her about what happened, I kind of started to understand even the ending more in my own mind. And I was like, okay, so it kind of ends a bit perfectly the way you have to see it. Again, I don't want to spoil it, but the way that
It could
she
have gotten there a little bit faster and spent a little
yes,
more
and the
time.
way that she set it up, I think it works. Um, I do also want to point out it is about class too. It's about rich versus middle class versus poor. That is the whole kind of element of it that's over throughout the entire film. So think like Parasite, but on a smaller budget and with a smaller cast, I guess. Like that, it's the kind of message it's trying to send to you. Um, yeah, I mean, I also like we were talking about how Siegel's then not a very opposing threat. Later on at some point in the movie, Clemens, are we still supposed to pretend that this guy's a threat? Like, because they're basically they're super filthy rich. So the whole premise with them is like, just take our money. We have more money. We don't need any more money. Just take it and leave. We will give you more money just to leave our house. Is basically how this movie starts. And I
Yep.
think what you're led to believe is that kind of rubs Siegel the wrong way because he's like, well, shit, man, these guys don't give a shit at all. Like, so there is a lot of class warfare through this movie, and where Siegel basically plays us, and we're watching the 1% try to wiggle their way out of being held hostage. So when you look at it in a kind of an allegory like that, I think it works very well. Again, like I said, I still think it is a little slow in the middle, but it did keep my attention for the entire hour and a half. So, what would you rate it, Wayne?
6.5 to 7, right
Yeah.
around there.
That's exactly where I'm at, 6.5. I was going to say maybe as it's one of those movies. We do this and we've done this a couple times with Andy. As we talk out the movie, sometimes I end up liking them a little more as we kind of go into the details of the film. And I was at 6 to 6.5, and now I'm probably 6.5, 7 after you and I talked it out a little bit.
Yep.
It's a good movie. You don't get a lot of movies like this, so they're always interesting. I think it's always interesting to find something different, and this is definitely different. It may not be for everybody. It's going to be one of those, I think, that splits. If you look at the Rotten Tomato score, it's like 59%, so that shows you as a pretty big split, almost down the middle there. So yeah, but it's definitely, I don't think you will be super disappointed if you catch this on Netflix. It's got a great cast. Like what you said, Wayne Clemens is always delivering now. I just watched him again in Game Night. And he's so good in Game Night. He kind of plays like the, not really the weak, but the creepy guy in that one, which he's great. He's great in that role. As the creepy police officer. So yeah,
Yes.
you can catch Cheaper by the Dozen, the remake on Disney Plus, and you can catch Windfall on Netflix. All right, Wayne. So anything you watched this week that you wanted to talk about? Bring up
What did I watch? Well, I'm still working my way through The Walking Dead. It's still good. I'm at the tail end of season 5, so now I'm getting into
the part where everyone fell off, basically.
Yeah, we're basically all 15 million people a week just turned off their TVs
Yes.
on Sunday nights, or changed from AMC back to Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football or whatever it
Yeah.
was. So, I'm just gonna enjoy the experience without much expectations in that. Talking with Andy and you last week, and we were talking about coming of age stories a little bit, and this, that, and the other thing about just as we discussed the Oscars and everything. I went back and watched one of my favorites. That's Adventureland with Kristen Stewart,
Ryan
Jesse
Reynolds,
Eisenberg, Ryan
Jesse Eisenberg,
Reynolds.
yep.
Yeah, And I think we actually talked we brought up Adventureland during the Ryan Reynolds show a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
Or was it last week? No, a couple weeks ago. Whenever it was.
2 weeks. Yeah,
just
2 weeks ago.
Feeling nostalgic about that. It's just experiencing that again after, gosh, at least 5 years, maybe more, closer to 10. Just it's just sometimes you're just in the mood for one of those coming of age feel good dramedies or whatever it is, whatever you want to classify it as. It's just maybe want to like delve back in. It's like I think Almost Famous is going to be a watch for me this week coming up, just because I talked about that one in the past and how much I love that whole. It's completely unbelievable getting to follow the rock band of your dreams, your favorite rock band of all time, and getting to write about that. Just the way the story encapsulates youth and innocence, and that growing up in that time, that era, and what goes on. So, I'm having a moment right now. That's why I'm prattling on. So, other than that, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Oh my gosh, I watched the latest Jackass movie,
and
so much penis. So much penis.
I think that should be on the poster. So much penis, Wayne Yerke.
That's how they start the movie.
I am going. So, how did you like it though? Wayne is deep in thought. Everybody.
Their goofiness kind of was a chore this time around, especially now that they're all in their 50s. They did introduce some younger people that grew up watching the show. But I don't know. Then you watch for Steve-O, you watch for Johnny Knoxville, you watch for the ensemble cast, Dave England and Danger Aaron and Wee Man and the cast. Obviously, Bam Margera is not a part of it due to his feud with the other guys.
Addiction issues, a lot of stuff. Yeah.
So, I think it's time just to stop. As much as I hate saying it, it's time to stop. Or I don't know. I laughed a couple of times. I chuckled, but overall,
We'll see. I'm going to. I want to do a rewatch of the original trilogy because I haven't watched it in such a long time, and it's all on Paramount Plus. So I'm gonna probably try to do that before I watch the fourth one. But I am excited to watch it just because, like we grew up with those guys basically. So it was just one of those. Every time there was a Jackass movie out, it became the next thing that you and your buddies had to go watch and see people get hit in the nuts, which I still stand to this day is always hilarious, unless it's happening to you, of course. But I recognize if it happens to me, then it's hilarious to probably other people watching it happen. All right, so this week I split my time between Oscar movies and rewatches. So I got to Licorice Pizza, which I agree with you and Andy is one of the best movies of 2021. Probably would be my pick. That or The Power of the Dog. Those are the two that I still go back and forth with.
Because Power of the Dog is going to win for other categories, I really, really want Licorice Pizza to win.
I really do. Because it's not nominated for as much, so it would be nice to see it win. Maybe definitely Best Picture, but if it doesn't win Best Picture, I would like to see it win Best Screenplay. Because I think that would be a good break around to everybody. But the other problem is you got Belfast in there, which they definitely want to give Kenneth Branagh his first Oscar. So it just so happens that PTA and Kenneth Branagh are kind of up against each other in every category. So it's going to be interesting to see who they decide to give it to.
One can have Best Director, the other one can have.
Well, but I think Best Director may go to Campion, so it's all over the place.
Well, damn it to hell.
And that would be historical too, because then it's 2 years in a row that you've had a woman win Best Director, which is huge. So Licorice Pizza, definitely rent it or seek it out if you can. Really good. The Worst Person in the World I watched, which is a foreign film, also really good. Great performances. That one is more. It's about like life essentially. Basically kind of growing up, and a woman is in a relationship with an older man, and she then decides that she wants something different, and there's another guy. So it's a really, really good film. I really like that one. That was also nominated for Best Screenplay as well as Best International Film. I watched Spencer with Kristen Stewart as Princess Diana. Not normally my cup of tea, I would say, but Kristen Stewart is incredible in this film. I actually hope, even though I know it's either going to be Chastain or Nicole Kidman most likely, I actually hope they surprise us and give it to Kristen Stewart, because I think that would be an awesome victory for her. And then I watched Parallel Mothers, the new Pedro Almodovar film with Penelope Cruz. Again, this movie is really good, similar to The Worst Person in the World, I think. Penelope Cruz is incredible. I think everybody knows that at this point. She's really amazing in this film. Unfortunately, she's the only person from a foreign language film to actually be nominated. We need to see, I think, more of that. If we're going to continue lauding that Drive My Car and The Worst Person in the World, or these movies that people need to see, I think the performers should also be considered for highly for these nominations. And that was the one thing we talked about that was, I thought, was missing when Drive My Car got nominated, is like, you're telling me that this is possibly the best movie of the year and you don't nominate either one of the performances. So, and we talked about that with Parasite too, that none of the Parasite actors got nominated. So
I shit you not, I overheard a conversation this week about how well, if these foreign films want to like really win awards, maybe they should just be in English. Like, I'm dead serious. I'm like, and you know me with keeping my mouth shut. If I had any type of relationship with either one of these people,
people
I
make
would have a
ridiculous,
little.
yeah.
I
People
would
make
have said
ridiculous
something,
comments
but
like that. Sorry, I keep
well,
jumping on
it's
you.
that kind of bullshit, closed mind thinking, and why we're still where we are as a society, and that's where I'm going to stop this.
As if like America rules over all cinema across the world. Like, oh god. Anyway, so my rewatches, I already mentioned Game Night, probably one of the best comedies of the last 10 years. It gets better with every viewing. Everybody in it is fantastic. We talked about Jesse Plemons, but you got Jason Bateman, Rachel McAdams, just a great cast with them in that one. I followed that up with a rewatch of Tag, which came out the same year, and not as good as Game Night, but still very funny. All-star cast in that one. You got Ed Helms, Jake Johnson, Annabelle Wallace, Hannibal Buress, Isla Fisher, let's see, Leslie Bibb, John Hamm, and Jeremy Renner, as well as Rashida Jones, too. Really funny movie. More emotional. And Wayne, another one I watched was Chef, which is, to me, becoming one of those movies that, like, the more I watch it, the more it becomes like one of my favorite movies of the last like 10 to 20 years. So good. Favreau is great in it. It reminds me, and it's not the same, but it reminds me of like watching Good Will Hunting so many times. Like, to me, it's that good. Like, it's just like comfort food, which is funny to use because it's about food. But that's what I feel like this movie is. I just feel comfortable watching this film. It's so good. Everybody's so good in it. It's just a great movie. And if you haven't seen Chef, I really think people should watch it. For the first time in a long time, I rewatched Batman, the Tim Burton Batman, 1989. What I find interesting about this movie, it's still really good. Nicholson is incredible in this film, as he was nominated for an Oscar. But what I still think is funny after all this time is that you have the villain, the Joker, the actor that plays the Joker, because it was Jack Nicholson, is billed ahead of Batman. So it's Nicholson, Keaton, Batman. And I'm like, that would never happen today. You would never, even if the Batman actor wasn't famous or the other guys were more famous, your Batman actor still getting first billing. So I still think that to this day, I still think that's very interesting. I'm in the middle of Batman Returns right now, but I do want to say my thought on the whole Batman Tim Burton thing. Tim Burton's Batman is the better Batman movie, but I think Batman Returns is the better Tim Burton movie, if that makes sense. Because I think what they did was, because Batman was so successful, they let Tim Burton have more say in Batman Returns, and he went really weird and very Tim Burton-y. I mean, it starts off like Edward Scissorhands, essentially.
Very nice.
So, big fan, obviously. All right, so let's get to the news and notes real quick, and then we'll wrap this thing up already. That's my grocery list. Let's not look at that. All right. Okay, news this week. Daredevil reboot series with Charlie Cox officially in the works at Marvel. That was pretty much assumed once they added it to Disney Plus, and he's spoiler everybody, he has a bit part in the new Spider-Man movie. Dune, the Sisterhood prequel series, moving forward at HBO Max. There's a rumor that Hugh Grant may be the next Doctor Who. Maury Povich retiring, ending his show's run after 30 years. Big run for him on that one. Not that I watched it
Mm-hmm.
anymore, but congrats to him, I guess. Betty Gilpin cast as the lead in Damon Lindelof's series, sci-fi series at Peacock. So we were both Betty Gilpin fans, so that'll be
Mm-hmm.
interesting to see how that turns out.
Yeah.
Tim Burton finally adds Christina Ricci to the Wednesday cast. That's the Addams Family series based on Wednesday Addams. Christina Ricci will not be playing Wednesday, as Jenna Ortega will be taking over that role as the younger Wednesday Addams. But it was one of those things where I think we were all kind of like, she's got to be in there somewhere. So she's going to be
Yep.
a brand new character. But it's a lot of, I'm glad that he added her into that project.
Yeah, Jenna Ortega fits that. That's great casting right
Oh,
there, in my
for sure.
opinion.
She's going to be really good in that, I think.
Almost a no-brainer, but you know,
Yeah,
don't put it past people to screw up a sure thing.
of course, of course. Scare Package 2 is in the works. Lindsay Duncan and Simon Callow join Eddie Izzard and Dr. Jekyll. Daniela Melchiora from she played Ratcatcher 2 in the Suicide Squad. She joins the Fast 10 movie. David Spade doing his first Netflix special. And Just Like That, which is the Sex and the City revival series, is coming back for a second season. All American, The Flash, Superman and Lois, Kung Fu, Nancy Drew, Riverdale, and Walker all renewed at the CW. Lena Headey making directorial debut with thriller called Violet. Misha Collins, who played the Angel in Supernatural, will play Harvey Dent in DC's live-action series Gotham Knights. Heather Graham, Brandy, Jason Biggs, and Matt Cedeno sign on for Pet Sematary director Mary Lambert's Netflix Christmas film called Best Christmas Ever. When I first read Brandy Norwood, I'm like, who's this Brandy Norwood person? I put her name into Google. I'm like, oh, it's Brandy. I'm just going to call her Brandy then. I thought it was like some other new actress or something. Let's see. Mae Whitman to star in Up Here, a new musical series at Hulu. Moon Knight writer developing Nova series at Marvel. Nova is a character that's been mentioned in the Guardians movies. They have the Nova Corps. That's kind of where he comes from. So they're going to turn that into a series now. Jimmy Smits returning to TV with Cop Show East New York at CBS. I will be tuning in because anytime Jimmy Smits comes to TV, it's an event. Archive 81 canceled at Netflix. That was James Wan's produced horror series. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is being turned into a movie at Netflix. Panos Cosmatos, director of Mandy, will make his next film Necrocosm for popular indie film company A24 Films. They're kind of turning into the new Miramax of independent cinema. Release is coming up. Grace and Frankie, the final episodes, hit Netflix April 29th. A Very British Scandal Season 2 with Claire Foy and Paul Bettany hits Amazon Prime April 22nd. The Survivor film with Ben Foster as Harry Haft hits HBO Max April 27th. The trailer just came out for that. Looks pretty cool. Dust this week. Jack Marks, Friday the 13th, Part 2, dead at 86. Lawrence Dane, Scanners, and Bride of Chucky, dead at 84. And the biggest one, I think, for people from our generation, Wayne, very unfortunate news. Taylor Hawkins of the Foo Fighters, dead at 50, the drummer for the Foo Fighters for the last 25 years, but he's been in the business since he was about 20 years old when he was the drummer for Alanis Morissette. That's how he met Dave Grohl, and their friendship kind of boomed from there.
Very, very heartbreaking to wake up and see that news yesterday or last week or whenever you're hearing this.
Whenever you hear this episode, it was heartbreaking regardless. Shocking. Only 50 years old. We don't know really anything of what happened at the moment. Obviously, Foo Fighters, they were on tour, so they've canceled all their tours for the time being. But he was, I knew him. I'm not a huge Foo Fighters fan, but I've obviously known who he was since they started because he was their second drummer, but he was the first drummer, I think, when they became famous. And he's just always been there. So it's going to be a weird thing for them to go forward, I think, without him. And it's crazy to me to see someone like Stevie Nicks be like, oh, wow, Taylor Hawkins was a great, I knew who he is, but I didn't know that. And I'm sure other people know who he is, but to hear all these other great musicians talk about working with him and being in a room with them and how he lit up a room and how close him and Dave were, they were basically best friends from the beginning, they said. And I guess Dave has some really nice words to say about him in his memoir, which will now, I think mean a little bit more now since he has passed away. So just pretty crazy that happened. I mean, it's just one of those, it's a kind of like a Paul Walker type death where you're not really expecting that to be news one day, and then here you go. So, but rest in
When
peace, Dave Grohl.
people have described him as it's incredibly hard to become a great drummer, but to become a great drummer when you're already in a band with a great drummer is something extra special.
Yes, exactly. And that was, to hear other musicians talk about how he was one of the best drummers working today. I didn't even know that. I just knew he was popular. So, yeah, just, he'll definitely be missed. His music will be missed. I really feel for Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters because I know they're a family, been together for 25 plus years. So, but yeah, that's sorry to end on a sad note, and we usually end with the deaths anyway. So I guess that's how we do. We didn't really get to any Oscar predictions, but we're running a little low on time here. All I really kind of hope, I watch the Oscars. I don't really watch the Oscars to see who wins all the time. A lot of times I just want to be entertained. I'm watching for some of the good skits that they're going to do, some of the speeches that are going to happen. I know it sucks that like Samuel L. Jackson received his Lifetime Achievement Award on Friday and no one got to see it, but they will show clips of that during the show. So I'm excited to see that, just to see a little bit of his interview, because he looked really excited that Denzel handed him his Oscar. So that I thought was pretty cool. I do, like everybody else, wish that they would televise that. They always do a package of the Governor's Award. So we will see a little bit of it tonight. It just won't be the full extent of it. I'm sure they'll probably put his speech online or something, but it's always cool just to see people you respect, walk away with awards. That's really what it comes down to. And that's what I hope. And I'm hoping with host added back this year that it's going to be funny again, like it used to be, because there used to be great comedy bits and sketches and stuff. So yeah, we'll see. So that's my prediction, is that maybe it'll be entertaining again. I guess.
Yes.
All right, everybody. Well, as always, we appreciate all of our listeners, and we're glad that you guys like to listen to have us have conversations, or whatever you want to call this. Actually, you know what, Wayne? One more thing before we end the show here. I'm going to start watching, I think for the next month, I want to do it in months, watching one movie a week from an older actor that I haven't watched. Do you have can you suggest an actor for me to start with? So think someone like John Wayne or Jimmy Stewart. I just want to watch old films that I haven't seen from people.
I'm going to go Errol Flynn.
Errol Flynn. Wow. Okay. Deep cut there. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will search out my first Errol Flynn movie, and I will report next episode on how that went. But I want to start experiencing some of these older films that I've just missed. And I think this is a way to do it, to kind of like do one old movie a week at least, like classic type film. I will, but all right, Errol Flynn, that'll be my first one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, everybody. Well, as always, thank you for listening to Now Showing with Mike and Wayne. This has been another episode of Now Showing with Mike and Wayne.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
We've only been doing this almost 90 times. All right, everybody, have a great week. Bye.
Bye.
Ronald Reagan, the actor?
Hasta la vista, baby.
Hey, everybody, we're all gonna get laid.